All right, welcome to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're diving into something, well, something pretty small physically, but it turns out it's having a surprisingly big moment. We're talking lavalier microphones.
Those little clip-on ones?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the ones you often see clipped to lapels? Well, apparently they're kind of quietly booming.
Oh, they absolutely are. And this report we've got our hands on, the one looking out towards 2033, it paints a picture of really strong, widespread growth globally.
Right. It suggests they're way beyond just niche gear now.
Definitely.
So we've got all this data here, and the plan today is really to dig into it, not just read out numbers, but pull out the key bits.
Yeah, the insights, the trends, where things are really heating up.
And try to figure out the why, like what's driving this. So we can give you a clear sense of where this whole market is actually heading over, say, the next decade.
Sounds good. Let's unpack it, see what story the numbers tell about, well, how we're all communicating and creating stuff digitally these days.
Okay, let's kick off with the big picture, the global view. The report starts with some pretty eye-opening figures for the whole market.
Yeah, what's really striking, I think, is just the scale of the growth they're projecting. So back in 2021, the global market revenue, about $1.6 billion, or roughly.
It's $1.6 billion.
Then they see it hitting around $2.4 billion by 2025.
Right.
But the number that really makes you sit up is the 2033 projection, over $5.4 billion.
Hang on, $5.4 billion. So you're saying the market's expected to more than triple between 2021 and 2033.
Exactly that, more than triple. And the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, over that whole period, it's a really healthy 10.7%.
Wow.
So yeah, that's not just a little bump. It's showing sustained, pretty strong expansion across the board.
That's really impressive for what feels like a pretty standard bit of kit. So where's this growth actually happening? Does the report break it down by region?
Oh yeah, it does. And it highlights North America as the current leader, the biggest slice of the pie right now.
Okay. What do the numbers look like there?
So North America was about $655 million back in 2021. They estimate it'll hit around $965 million by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And the projection for 2033, just over $2 billion. The regional CAGR is solid, 10.1%.
10.1%. So still strong, but actually a little under the global average, you mentioned.
Super slightly, yeah.
And within North America, how does it break down?
Well, the U.S. is obviously the big engine there. It went from about $470 million in 21, and they see it reaching over $1.4 billion by 2033. That's a 9.7% CAGR.
Okay.
Canada's also pretty significant. It started around $138 million, and it's actually growing a bit faster than the U.S., 10.7% CAGR.
Ah, interesting. Same as the global rate.
Yep. But then within North America, Mexico really stands out.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It's a smaller market, started around 49 million, but its projected growth rate is much higher. They're forecasting over 190 million by 2033, which works out to a 12.1% CAGR.
12.1. Wow. Okay. So that's noticeably quicker than the U.S. or Canada.
Yeah, it really is. It kind of suggests, maybe faster adoption or just a different growth phase happening there. Mexico's really accelerating.
Interesting. Okay. Let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe. The report says it's the second largest market.
That's right. Second biggest mentioned here, Europe was around 468 million in 2021, expected to hit over 690 million by 2025.
Okay.
And the 2033 projection is over $1.5 billion. Its regional CAGR is 10.4%, so pretty much bang on the global average.
Right. So steady, solid growth in Europe overall. But I guess there's variation within Europe, too.
Oh, definitely. You see a bit of a mix. Some countries are doing really well, like the UK and Germany. Their CAGRs are actually above the European average, 11.4% for the UK, 11.0% for Germany.
Okay, strong performers.
France is right up there, too, 10.6%. Very solid.
But then does the report mention any areas growing a bit slower?
It does, yeah. You see places like Italy, Russia, Spain. Their CAGRs are more in the 8.8% to 9.6% range.
Still growing, but not quite as fast.
Exactly. Still positive growth, but maybe it points to slightly different market conditions, or maybe they're just at a different stage of maturity compared to, say, the UK. Luxembourg's also mentioned smaller market, lower CAGR at 8.1%.
Gotcha. So even within a strong region like Europe, there's quite a bit of difference country by country.
Absolutely. The pace isn't uniform.
All right, let's pivot now to Asia Pacific. The report seems pretty excited about APAC, says it has strong momentum.
Yeah, this is where we see the highest regional growth rate mentioned in the whole report. Asia Pacific started around 343 million in 2021.
Okay.
projected to hit over 538 million by 2025, and then leap to over 1.3 billion by 2033.
Wow, quite a jump.
And the regional CAGR, a really strong 11.9%.
11.9%. Okay, that's definitely above the global 10.7%. What's pushing that faster growth in APAC?
Well, China's a huge part of it, naturally. It was already the biggest market there in 2021, like 135 million. And they project it'll hit over $500 million by 2033.
$500 million just in China.
Yeah. And its CAGR is super high, 12.6%. Japan's also a major market, adding solid growth too.
But hang on, wasn't there one country that really stood out globally in the report's figures? Was it India?
Yes, absolutely. India's growth rate is, well, it's kind of stunning, actually.
Go on.
Started from a base of about 38 million in 2021, which is, smaller than China or Japan, but it's projected to hit nearly 180 million by 2033.
Okay.
And the CAGR, an incredible 13.7%.
Whoa, 13.7%.
Yep. That is the highest growth rate listed for any single country or region in this entire report.
That's explosive. Just incredible growth potential there.
It really is. And you also see strong numbers from South Korea, about 11.7% CAGR. Australia, Southeast Asia, also growing well over 10%. APAC seems to be where the acceleration is really happening fastest overall.
Yeah, you can see why when you look at those numbers.
And if you think about it, the sheer population, the increasing digital uptake in places like China and India, it makes sense that they be major drivers.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears again. What about Latin America? The report points to some markets that are accelerating really quickly, too.
It does. We don't get a single regional total for LATAM in this data set, but the country numbers are really interesting. Brazil is a decent-sized market, already started around 34 million, projected to grow to over 118 million by 2033. That's a 10.8% CAGR.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Million by 2033. That's a 10.8% CAGR.
Okay, solid.
Argentina's showing strong growth too, 10.5%.
Right. But similar to India and APAC, LATAM seems to have some countries with really high KGRs, way above average.
Exactly. Look at Colombia. Started smaller, around 6 million, but projected to hit almost 27 million. The CAGR there, 13.1%.
13.1.
And Peru is similar, jumped from about 4 million to over 17 million projected by 2033. That's a 13.5% CAGR.
Wow, okay, so Colombia and Peru are almost matching India's growth rate.
Pretty much. And Chile is also listed with a very strong 12.1% CAGR.
So it really shows these pockets of super fast expansion popping up in different parts of the world, not just the usual suspects.
Precisely. It tells you this trend, this need for these tools isn't just limited to the big, established tech economies. It's spreading really rapidly into emerging digital markets, too.
Okay, last region then, Middle East and Africa. What does the report say about MEA, emerging potential?
Yeah, that seems to be the picture. Again, positive growth across the countries listed. Egypt, Turkey, South Africa, they're all projected to grow with KGS somewhere between 10.9% and 11.5%.
So healthy growth there too.
Definitely. Reaching market sizes in the tens of millions each by 2033. And other parts of the Middle East are also showing solid double-digit type growth, around 10.2%.
And Nigeria's mentioned too.
Yep, Nigeria is listed. Starting smaller, but still projected to grow quite healthily, 9.4% CAGR.
So even in MEA, we're seeing that same consistent upward trend.
Yes. It's really a pattern repeated across almost every single place detailed in this report. Consistent, strong growth pretty much everywhere.
Okay, so we've seen the numbers. Strong growth globally. Some regions like APAC really flying. Specific countries like India, Colombia, Peru showing just incredible acceleration. So let's connect the dots. What does it all mean? What's the engine behind this boom, specifically for these little lavalier mics?
Well, if you tie it all together, the report points to some pretty clear interconnected factors. It's not just about the microphones themselves getting slightly better, although that helps. It's much more about how people are creating and consuming information now.
Right, you mean the whole explosion in digital content creation.
Exactly that. Just think about the sheer volume of stuff out there now. Podcasts, obviously.
Yep.
But also online courses, YouTube channels, all the vlogging, live streaming, remote interviews, even just better quality audio for professional video calls.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And all of that relies on getting clear, reliable audio. Often you want it hands-free, right? So the person speaking can move, gesture, interact naturally.
And lav mics are just perfectly designed for that need, aren't they? They're small, portable, Generally way less expensive than a big studio setup.
Uh-huh.
And they capture pretty focused sound without needing a perfectly treated room.
They really are becoming the sort of essential go-to tool in this whole booming digital ecosystem. Plus, the tech itself has gotten better. Wireless is more reliable. Batteries last longer. They keep getting smaller.
Right, making them easier for more people to use.
Exactly. More accessible and effective for everyone, from someone just starting a YouTube channel in their bedroom to, seasoned broadcast professionals. So this market growth, it's really about these tools becoming almost like fundamental infrastructure for the modern digital economy.
That's a great way to put it.
Mhm.
So the big takeaway here is pretty powerful. This lavalier mic market isn't just ticking up slightly, it's undergoing this huge, widespread expansion across the globe.
Fundamentally tied to how we create and share information now.
Reaching, what was it, over 5.4 billion globally by 2033?
Yeah, more than tripling its 2021 size.
Driven by that really impressive growth across Asia-Pacific and those standout countries like India with its massive KGR, plus the rapid growth in places like Colombia and Peru in Latin America.
It paints a very clear picture.
So understanding this growth, it gives you a really interesting window, not just into audio gear, but into the kinds of tools that are becoming absolutely vital for creators, for educators, for businesses, for anyone communicating digitally today.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you listening to chew on.
Go on.
Well, given this massive widespread growth we're seeing for lav mics, driven specifically by this content creation explosion, especially in these fast-growing digital markets we talked about,
Yeah.
what might be the next piece of everyday gear? The next maybe audio or video tool that's set for similar explosive growth because of the same relentless demand for digital content? What other small tool could be sitting on the edge of its own multi-billion-dollar boom? Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
We're diving into a part of the audio world that's, well, tiny, often hidden, but really essential.
Absolutely essential. It impacts, everything from Hollywood blockbusters right down to...
talk videos.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So today's deep dive, it's all about lavalier microphones.
Yep.
Those little mics you clip onto your shirt or jacket.
The ones you try not to see?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting insights from a report looking at the market trends.
Yeah, it digs into what's happening right now and what's projected out to 2025.
Think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to get why these specific mics are suddenly everywhere.
Or maybe not so suddenly, but definitely dominant now.
Right. And also, what makes them tricky sometimes.
The challenges are definitely there. And the report touches on where the tech is heading to.
So our mission here is really just to give you the key takeaways. Understand the drivers, the hurdles.
And some of the, well, maybe surprising future trends mentioned. Yeah. So whether you're, making content yourself or you're just fascinated by audio tech,
Or just curious about how our digital world sounds.
then there's definitely something interesting here for you. Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
So first off, when we look at what's really pushing the growth in this lavalier market, what does the source material say is the main engine?
Well, what really jumps out from the analysis
Yeah.
is just the sheer scale of online media and content creation. It's massive.
You mean like YouTube, streaming, all that?
Exactly. The demand from, well, everyone from big online broadcasters right down to individual creators, it's just immense.
Okay.
And lavaliers, they're sort of perfectly positioned for that need.
I guess you see them everywhere now, don't you? News folks, webinars.
Virtual calls, yeah. YouTube videos, podcasts, people working remotely, they're ubiquitous.
So why are lavaliers the go-to in those situations? What's the big advantage?
It really boils down to their basic design strengths for those uses, right?
Yeah.
They're small, they're portable, and crucially, hands-free.
Right. That hands-free part seems key.
It is. It's especially for video or live streams or presentations where you need to, move around.
Yeah, you can't be holding a mic or stuck at a desk.
Precisely.
Right.
That convenience factor. It's a huge driver for digital content.
That makes total sense. You need to be seen, maybe gesture, interact.
Without a big microphone blocking your face or hands. Yeah.
Okay, so online media is a huge piece. What about the more traditional places?
Well, that's the other side of it. The analysis also points out their ongoing, really essential role in broadcast, film, and theater.
They've been staples there for ages, haven't they? Hiding mics on actors, news anchors.
Oh, absolutely. Decades. They are a standard tool. Newsrooms, film sets, live stages, indispensable.
Why there specifically? Is it just about hiding them?
That's a big part of it. Their discrete nature is invaluable. You capture great audio.
Without seeing the mic.
Exactly. You maintain the visual aesthetic and get the sound quality you need. Seamlessness.
Okay, so we've got this kind of dual engine driving growth, the explosion in new digital stuff, and their solid place in the established industries.
Mm-hmm.
What else is adding fuel to this? Any tech stuff?
Definitely. The report highlights ongoing technological advances as a significant factor. Big strides are being made.
In what areas?
Things like wireless transmission reliability, that's getting much better.
Okay.
And the actual audio quality these tiny things can capture, they're not just getting smaller.
They're getting smarter, sounding better.
Exactly. Smarter and sounding better.
Better how, specifically? Like, what improvements are we talking about?
Well, think enhanced noise cancellation happening right in the mic.
Oh, interesting.
Much better battery life than the older models. Remember how bad those could be?
Oh, yeah. Always dying mid-shoot.
Right. And significantly more robust wireless connections. Fewer dropouts.
And those things are critical if you're, say, a journalist out in the field.
Absolutely. Mobile journalism, vlogging, anywhere you're on the move, maybe in unpredictable spots. You need clear, uninterrupted audio.
Okay, so it sounds like there are some really strong forces pushing labs forward.
Definitely.
But
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
it sounds like there are some really strong forces pushing labs forward.
Definitely.
But as the source material also covers, it's not all perfect, right? There are downsides.
No, definitely not smooth sailing all the way. The analysis pointed out several persistent issues, inherent trade-offs, really.
Trade-offs because you're putting it right on someone's body.
That's the core of it. It raises that question. What problems come with sticking a mic right on clothing?
Well, I can immediately think of one noise from the clothes themselves. Rustling.
You nailed it. That's a big one. Because they're right there, next to the body. They pick up everything. Fabric rubbing on the mic or the cable.
Even just moving slightly.
Yeah, or light wind outdoors.
Yeah.
Even external sounds can just bleed right in and mess up the clarity.
So you end up having to fix a lot of that later in editing.
Often, yeah. Significant post-processing work. Or you rely on accessories like special clips or those little fuzzy windscreen.
Right, the fluff balls.
Exactly. And the critique in the source material, interestingly, was that managing this clothing noise, it remains a more persistent, practical problem for users than just general background noise.
Oh, that is interesting. I might have guessed background noise was the bigger pain.
Seems not always in practice.
Okay, what about the actual sound quality compared to, say, a bigger studio mic?
That's another key limitation the report brings up, their restricted frequency response.
Meaning the range of sounds they capture. Highs and lows.
Precisely. It's the range they can capture accurately. Compared to larger mics, especially studio ones with big diaphragms built for precision.
Lavs are narrower.
Typically, yes, a narrower audio range.
So maybe not your first pick if you're recording, I don't know, an orchestra or something needing real fidelity.
Exactly right. Their design prioritizes size, so they're generally not suited for things needing super high fidelity capture across a really wide sound spectrum. Critical music recording is a good example.
Makes sense. And what about the wireless aspect? That's so common now, but doesn't it introduce its own issues?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Potential reliability issues are always there with wireless.
Like battery life.
Battery dependency is constant,
Mm-hmm.
running out mid-take. It's the familiar nightmare scenario.
Been there.
And then there's signal interference.
Yeah.
Especially in crowded RF environments.
Like where? Conventions. Big cities.
Yeah, think convention centers, busy downtown areas.
Yeah.
Big live events, just packed with wireless signals from everything. Labs can be prone to interference, dropped connections.
Which, if it's live TV or a theater show,
Could be catastrophic, total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
So mitigating that, it takes careful planning, maybe frequency coordination, having robust backups, adds complexity.
Okay, so we've got the big demand driving growth and these technical and practical challenges they still face. Let's flip the coin. What about the future? What exciting trends does the source material see coming?
Yeah, on the forward-looking side, there are definitely some cool trends highlighted. Miniaturization, obviously, that continues.
They keep getting smaller.
But crucially, it's paired with increasing integration with smart devices.
So connecting more easily with phones, cameras, tablets.
That's the direction. Mobile creators, journalists, educators, they want agility, portability. So manufacturers are focusing on lighter, smaller lav.
Plug and play, or easy wireless pairing.
Both. Designed for seamless connection with smartphones, tablets, mirrorless cameras. The gear people already have.
making it easier for almost anyone to get decent audio with their phone.
Pretty much, yeah. Raising the bar for mobile audio capture.
What else?
We're also seeing a rise in more specialized setups becoming more common,
Like what?
like dual mic setups particularly, and also more refined omnidirectional options.
Okay, dual mics. Why would you use that? Interviews.
Exactly. They're getting really popular for interviews. Lets you separate the speakers better, get more balanced audio when two people are talking.
Right, instead of just one mic trying to catch both.
Mm-hmm. And omnidirectional lavs, the ones that pick up sound from all directions,
Yeah.
they're gaining traction too. They capture really natural, authentic conversation, ambient sound, and you don't have to be quite so fussy about exact placement.
Easier to use, maybe?
Adds to the ease of use, definitely.
And there was one specific type the report really flagged as, like, exploding right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The analysis points to clip-on Bluetooth lavalier mics as really taking the market by storm currently.
Those just seem incredibly convenient. Clip on, connect via Bluetooth. Done.
That's pretty much the appeal.
Yeah.
Super easy pairing, often real-time sync with recording apps on your phone.
Maximum portability.
Totally. So they're a huge favorite for influencers, remote teachers, live streamers, people who need minimal setup, reliable audio on the go.
Right. Shooting a quick video outside, teaching a class online, that flexibility is huge.
It really is. They're fast becoming the kind of go-to for getting good sound in mobile situations without the hassle of traditional wireless packs and receivers.
So wrapping this up then, what does it all mean? We sort of dug into this world of lavalier mics.
Yeah, looked at what's pushing their growth, that huge wave of online media content creation.
Plus their continuing vital role in broadcast, film, theater.
Right, and all powered by these ongoing improvements in wireless tech and just the raw audio quality they can capture now.
But we also face the realities, right? The challenges.
Definitely. That constant battle with background noise, clothing rustle.
Their limits compared to bigger mics, frequency response-wise.
Yep. And those practical hurdles. Battery life, keeping the signal strong, especially in busy places.
But as the analysis showed, the future looks, well, pretty dynamic.
It really does. Lots of promising innovation, still getting smaller.
Seamless integration with our smart devices, making good audio more accessible.
Those specialized designs, refining things like dual mics for interviews or omni options for natural sound.
And that huge boom in those super convenient clip-on Bluetooth lavs, they really feel like a game changer for mobile stuff.
Absolutely. It's clear the market is really buzzing.
Yeah.
And it's all driven by that core need for versatile, mobile, but still high-quality audio.
Yeah. And it's affecting how we capture sound everywhere, isn't it? Big screen productions, tiny phone streams.
It really spans the whole range now.
Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. As these tiny, powerful mics get even more integrated, maybe even invisible inside our devices, maybe even woven into clothes someday, how might that fundamentally change how we capture, interact with, and even just perceive recorded sound?
Yeah. How does it change our perception of conversations around us when capturing them becomes completely seamless, maybe even subconscious?
Something to think about.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai